what? Give me 1 second. Why don't you do the introduction and then we'll continue on here. Let me pull this one off. I forgot to totally plug in the laptop. Oh, shit. Oh, man. Starting off really good again. Going to run out of power. Nope, bump that, so that's good.
You changed the camera setup, eh?
Had to, the other one was dead. We are hot right now, just FYI. Oh. Okay.
And we're back. Good evening.
Hello.
Jake Brown with Turn 13 Motorsports.
It's me, Ryan, the guy who doesn't know how to run a podcast. Figured it out, I think, this time around. So we do have guest Mr. Craig Frantz back with us again, since last time was a undesirable situation. But Craig spent some time with me today. Going over this before we started to figure things out. It went a little shitty at first, but I think we're good. So, we'll get into it as we normally do, which is Mr. Jake, why don't you go ahead, and I'm going to make sure I get the chat stuff set up real quick while you do that. That way we have the chat on the screen if anybody comments. So, go ahead with that.
Right. So what are you doing? You got anything going on? Anything fun?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, like normal. Got the Fury that working on now, and I sent you some pictures the other day. I had to modify a couple things on it to make everything smooth, so smooth out the casting on it, which is the first time I've done this. I've never really done that for anybody, of taking out, the Honda logo, the arrow for the direction, and then like the little circle castings that are on the wheels, smoothed it out. And then flatten the like pointy edge of the spoke, because we're going to do a two-tone on it, and it's going to look pretty cool. But there's a couple things had to do to kind of make things work, and kind of talk to the customer and stuff. And he was like, yeah, let's do that. That seems to be the way we should probably go on it. So I'm like, yeah, as long as you're good with it. I told him there could be some liability there if, because I don't know what's underneath the casting.
Yeah.
If I start grinding at it to smooth it and there's a void, well, so made sure he knew and understood those things, and then, kind of let him make the decision on that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, and then, had some other things going on, still working on the oven as usual. Had some family in town, so kind of, that kind of went a little bit, took a little of my time up this weekend, and it was also my beautiful, amazing wife's birthday. So, celebrate that with her, and yeah, good old things. How about about yourself?
Well, I was just working on the Fury, actually.
Oh, you were in. I heard you come a little early.
Yeah,
I was here working on this.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're working on Fury.
Yeah, I was in there taking it apart.
Okay, cool.
Sweet.
He does have a set of risers that he brought that are additional to the stock risers that he wants me to powder coat, and then I'll have you put them on. It's a small raise. You don't have to extend cables or anything. Just FYI on
For
that.
the bars?
Yeah.
What kind of riser setup? Because those ones, they have a bolt that goes through the triple clamp.
I don't know. He brought them. I didn't really pay much attention, but they're something you don't have to extend cables or anything like that. It's just very little. I think it just brings them up and back just a smidge. Maybe like a ½ inch or less or something. I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll check it out.
Ben, no, the oven is not done yet, but it's getting really, really close. With the holiday family things, and then wife's birthday and customer work, etc. It's kind of put me a little bit behind on it, but chugging along. Got the door frames, one door frame done in the front, kind of ceiling edge where I'm going to be. You had to put some thicker steel on that to weld in my hinges and whatnot. So got that stuff. Burner's all situated now, besides wiring and stuff. But my buddy Rick is going to come over this week, and he's going to start wiring everything. So he can go ahead with that. I just wanted to make sure I got everything in its place and where it needed to be before he started wiring, because I didn't want to have to have him come over, rewire something because I moved it. So. Okay. So, anything else, sir? What do you got? Any fun, new, cool things? Anything?
I got a new BMW that was dropped off to do some tuning and lower it and some stuff like that to it. I worked on the ceiling more today. I used up all the steel that I have. I don't have any steel left, so.
Oh, for the for the ceiling. Yep,
yeah, now I got to find some or buy it, which is crazy.
Yeah, we'll make a trip back up to D&J and see if we can get you some more really good deals on the.
I almost went today, but by the time we ran out of steel, they were closed. So.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but other than that, same old stuff. I've been working on a new cylinder head design for those CG engines that I do. I think I sent you some pictures of it with the epoxy fill and all that stuff.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, it's changed pretty radically. So, I've got a custom valve seat design that I'm gonna put on it, and then we'll get to flow benching it and see how it works. And if everything goes smooth and works how we want it to, then we will proceed on to dyno testing.
Very good.
I've spent a lot of time on this little cylinder head. It's funny, little 20 horsepower cylinder head. I'm doing epoxy fill and all kinds of crazy stuff on it.
Nice. Oh. Yeah. Let's see here. Well, anything else before we bring our super awesome guest back on?
Nope, you can bring him anytime.
So anybody who did try to listen last time, we had Mr. Craig Frantz on, and it was quite a disaster, to be honest. Couldn't figure out the audio. We had a lot of echoing. It was just, man, it was kind of a shit show to be. I mean, it was more than a shit show. Let's be honest with that. It was a disaster.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Craig was nice enough to go ahead, come on back, do the interview again, which is good. And as soon as I can get him back, I told him I'd message him when we're ready. So bring him on here, and then hopefully this all goes to plan. Who knows? It may not. I'm hoping it does, but
as long as it sounds better than last time. That was rough.
Okay, so 1 second here, and then we're gonna get him on the screen. Let's double check. Hopefully, there he is. Let's bring him in the chat.
I asked Roger, and he shot me down.
Roger. Oh yeah. Well, why? That's what I want to know.
Why did he shoot me down?
Yeah.
Or why did I ask him?
Oh no, why did he shoot you down?
He just doesn't want to be on camera or talk on podcast or anything.
He's losing out. So there we are. Hey, here's Craig. Craig, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
And we can hear him, and there's no echo, and the audio sounds good. I'm going to give myself a little hand.
Well done.
Wait, is it on here still? Nope. There it is. There it is. So, yeah, and thank you, Craig, for helping me figure this out. So now we can have whoever we want on, and it's not going to be a total shit show. So, Let's go ahead and Craig, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of, give me some background info and what you do in Moto America stuff.
I'm Craig. I started track riding back in like 2003, racing in 2009. Started full time as a Moto America mechanic for CJ LaRoche in 2001. So basically, the last 3 years doing that. I actually work for his company full time and go to the races with him.
Yeah, what's his company exactly? I can't remember the exact thing he does. It's something with planes of some sort, right?
Well, he's got two. He's got LaRoche Tree Service, and then he's got LaRoche Aviation.
And the aviation ties in with the tree service, right?
It does. So we currently have, I think it's like 4 helicopters that we use to trim trees with.
Got you.
Wow.
Have you been up in there when they're trimming trees?
Not while they're trimming. I've been in the helicopter, but not while they're trimming.
How's those guys are nuts though. So they just fly up in that helicopter and they hang somebody out of it, or they drop them off there? How they do that?
No, so basically, they hook a long motor, and a probably, I don't know, 6-8 circular saw blades off the bottom of the helicopter.
That's
And everything that you're not supposed to do with a helicopter, they're asked to do, which is basically fly near power lines and fly near trees.
Jesus. So, like, that, dude, that's got to be pretty wild. I mean,
I've seen those hanging off them before. It looks crazy.
Yeah, watching them train is pretty hysterical because they use like a 4x4 post and in the same cabling, and they just fly around the airport practicing.
All right, so yeah, I mean, I've known you for a long time. I don't know about it. Probably wasn't like 2003, but it's been a long time. Yeah, maybe it was. Nah, maybe not 3. Whatever it was, but like the last time, which nobody could probably even hear. I think we met just through friends or whatever at the track. I rode with you a couple times, and then I think like when I really got to know you more was probably. That was probably when N2 was more prominent at Nelson, and did some days up there and stuff, and some of those Weir races and whatnot.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I know you and I did kind of the full season there for at least a year.
Yeah, you were always faster than me, but you were pretty much sandbagging it, I think. Because you were novice, weren't you, in that time?
For whatever reason, Weir made me go back to a novice.
It's so crazy. What were you running on your ZX10 then? I can't remember.
At Nelson's?
Yeah, like what? Like one? You were probably like 107s, right?
Nah, 8.1 was my best.
Oh wow! And now, so before we get into like more of the Moto America stuff, but so now you have a 750 Gixxer, right?
I still have the 10 right now.
Oh, you do? Oh, you're trying to get rid of it, right?
I'm selling it. I'm gonna pick something else up. I'm gonna downsize.
And you had the 750 last time I saw you at the track. How do you like? I mean, would you prefer that over the 10?
Yeah. I mean, I rode it at Pittsburgh. Kind of first time there on it. Got within a second of my best ever. Took it to New Jersey. Actually went 2 seconds quicker on the 750 than my 10.
It's crazy. It's amazing. Like.
What year is the 10?
18.
And it's all kitted too, right? You have like all kinds of shit.
It's got the KRT, ECU, the wiring harness, aim dash, the suspension potentiometers, brake pressure sensors.
He's big time.
Big time.
About anything you could think of, I decided to light money on fire and throw at it.
Which is always fun. Have you got a chance to ride a twins bike like a R7 or a 660?
I have not. The only twin I've ever got to ride was like the big Super Dukes.
Well, did you ride Tim's SV?
Nope.
Next time you're like either at Pitt or whatever, like maybe with I don't know if you're back out to that private track day thing, whatever, with CJ and them with what's his name? I can't remember. Anyways,
Vinny.
Yeah. you're welcome to take mine out. Mine's like, you know, obviously it's not stock by any means. It makes really good power. It makes 100 wheels, so you're welcome to take it out, see what you see what you think of it, because I'm curious to get your input on it. You know, I mean, like I'm just not an inline guy. I never really liked them. I've had a couple inline bikes like way back in the day, but it's always been like a parallel or mostly V twins or V4. But dude, I love, like, even though it's, you know, doesn't have a lot of power, it's still just so much more fun to ride, and I'm only like a second and a half off my fastest lap on my RSV4 at Nelson on my 660.
Right.
So, and it's wild, man. But yeah.
Yeah, my crazy ass is kind of half thinking of the 765 Triumph too.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it.
He'll tell you, dude. They're like the Triumphs are. Well, you know, Tim's
the
had issues
the
with
750 will run circles around the 765. Like, it's just, I mean, obviously do what you want, but like for the price, it's not worth it. Like, they're just.
Yeah.
I built a 675 before for a buddy, and it made like really, really good power. The built 675, which wasn't like, I mean, we're not talking like kit cams and stuff like that, like just super stock work basically. So all like still stock legal and stuff, and it essentially made the same as the 765.
Right.
Like, it was 100 and, well, I think the 765 might have been like 124 or something like that, and the 675 built was like 121 or something. So for all intents and purposes, like, they basically made the same, but like I said, the 750 will just run circles around that 765.
Right.
I'm not the biggest Triumph fan.
He's a Honda guy. Hey, your cat's joining us there in the background.
I do like Honda, but I like everything as long as it's good. Like, I like good engines basically.
There you go.
That's where I'll go to every single time. Just because that's me. Like, that's just how I am.
Yeah, the Triumph's got that new 660 out, which is kind of depressing, really. 3-cylinder 660 still makes less than the Aprilia. I'm just gonna put that out there. 95 brake horsepower.
No, Jeff. Okay. You took it a little wrong. The 765 isn't a garbage bike. It's just when you're like, to buy it for a track bike or a race bike, there's just so many better options. Like, for the street bike setup, like, it'll be a killer bike and whatnot. But like, buying it for a race bike, like, you're just kind of throwing money away. Like, you can spend less money and go faster a lot easier.
Yeah, and I mean, that's anything European, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean,
like, you know, if you the every part's much harder to get. Aftermarket's not as big. Used market is way smaller, especially on the 765, like, with some whatever changes. But yeah, I mean, like a Gixxer or ZX6R or whatever. Like, I mean, obviously, you know, but like, if you're like me and you like to throw money away on like European bikes, then that's, yeah, go for it, you know, whatever. But that's the way I am. I don't know. But if you like Triumph or whatever, and that's your brand, and it's not a bad bike whatsoever, it's just, yeah.
No, it's not. It's not terrible, and there are Triumph.
It's just your point is correct. Like, if you're looking, like, as far as money goes, the 750 is just a way better buy.
Yeah, like if you have 15 grand in your pocket right now and you want to go buy, you know, a bike in that range, like, you're going to buy the 765 and then you're going to buy a Monster on the way home. Or you're going to buy a GSXR and you're going to put suspension on it and quick shifter and all that good stuff, and you'll probably still have money left over.
That's true. So we'll get into, since we're talking about 750, like you said, you are a mechanic for Mr. CJ LaRoche, who, when did he start doing Moto America?
Oh, man, when did he start? 15, 16?
And was he always in Super Sport?
He's always been in Super Sport.
Got it.
Always on an R6 up until New Jersey last year.
Yeah. So it's only been like the recent, like, last 2 years that he's really been up in the mix, and all these things that we're going to go over you're probably gonna be like, yeah, we already talked about this, but again, like no one could hear us last time. Everything was really jacked up, but he like what was I guess the big change for him? Was it just time and practice or whatever, or did he get some coaching or whatever? Like what changed that put him up into the top 10?
So when was that? Back in 2020, he went to Road America on a bike that he had just kind of purchased. Tried to switch away from the R6. Didn't go well. He actually did not qualify. It's the first time he's ever not qualified for a round.
Interesting.
And Ken Hill happened to be there, and he's talking to him, and he's like, "What do I got to do to get you on the team and start working with me full time?" So that's where 2021 started. We set the expectations realistic, and we pretty much got where we wanted at the end of 21. And between that and the fact that we ride, between December and probably end of March, we'll ride 3 or 4 times throughout the winter.
Right.
And then just basically Ken is constantly looking at data and talking to CJ, trying to figure out what needs fixed, him or the bike, and what we can do to make things easier.
Does he have like a more, or Ken do this too? But like they have these like more like mental coaches, so it's not like the actual writing stuff or data type stuff, but more like the mental state. Does he have somebody that he works with that?
He does. He's got somebody for that. He's got a vision coach. The guy's actually out of Cleveland. Super great guy. Actually does all of the Cleveland Indians and Cleveland Browns and well, I guess it's not the Indians anymore. Guardians. Showing my age. But he's got that. He's got an athletic training coach. So I mean, he's kind of went all in.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of like that's the level you need to be at to be up in the top 10. I mean, there are some people, that have just extraordinary talent. I would say like
right.
Mesa before I don't know a lot about him, but I've raced with him and Weir and stuff like that, and it's always been like he's the mechanic, he's everything. It's just him and his family, and it's like that kid's got some like insane, just off the cuff, crazy talent.
Yeah.
Does he work with anybody? I doubt it. If he's probably couldn't afford to pay somebody to do that stuff. But if you can, that's the level you need to be at to be able to do that. But that's pretty wild.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, the other one that's that way too, and we were lucky to have him as a teammate, was Ben Smith.
Oh yeah.
Just crazy good on the bike.
Yeah, it's.
Which I'm glad to see he got a good ride for this year. So that'll be nice.
What's he on this year?
He's doing. It's the Flow for Law team on
Stock
1000. And
yeah.
Superbike Cup.
Yeah. I saw that. That's right. So, like you said, he's off the R6 last year. At the end of last year, he switched to 750. So, and this is something that you can kind of chime in on with him because, like, I don't know enough about it. But, like, the rules on these new super sports, because, you have the 636, the Gixxer 600, the CBR, which nobody really runs, the R6, which is kind of the benchmark, and now they have the new evolution, which is the V2 and the 750. And so what was the reason for the change on that? And is it a positive change? I know he wrote it before the last race, but what was it, last two, or was it just the one? Just the Jersey, right?
Just the one, just Jersey round. We did ride it the Vinny Day right after Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But yeah, he we switched over basically because I'm standing out there. I do the pit board for him every round. In the very first round, he's behind Corey Ventura on Disrupt, and you watch him at Atlanta, and he would pull up on him coming onto the front straight, and Corey would just yard him down the front straight on that 750. I mean, there's nothing he could do.
So I mean, like, how is that possible if they're supposed to be so even?
You could even see it with Hayes out front when because you'd have Hayes, Mesa, I think Ty Scott was up there, and Flores, and every time they'd come onto the back straight, it was like they threw lead weights onto Josh Hayes's bike.
I mean,
Which they did.
is the power's supposed to be similar, right? Or the
It is.
R6 just can't make that much, or is it the more power down low? I mean,
It makes it in a weird spot.
So yeah, so like you can't take away torque from an engine, right? So a bigger engine, just by virtue of being bigger and still breathing the same, it makes more torque. And so inevitably it'll make more horsepower. So you can cut that horsepower up top, and you can cut torque some by overall limiting throttle, like if it's limited to 80s, 85, whatever it is. That's going to limit torque production, but I would you'd have to see the dyno figures and stuff to see, but regardless, like the 750s are making 52-ish stock setup, like 52 pound-feet of torque. Yeah. And an R6 is going to be like 42, 44, just kind of depends on how it's built. And if it's like really, really stretched out, like you're not picking up anything, under 8K, 10K. And so like corner exit, you're always, so you can look at actual drive force. And so looking at drive force is going to be engine torque, and then it's going to go through primary reduction, then gearbox reduction, then final drive reduction. And so,
we lost him somehow. One sec.
He said he lost his power.
Oh shit.
So anyways, so when you start driving out of a corner, you can play with gear ratios and everything to manipulate that, but, and again, I'm not out there doing this, so I'm just speculating from what I can tell. The 750 is going to have much, much more drive force to get out of the corner and get the bike moving, and then it's going to start leaning on to the horsepower side of the curve. And, if they're both making the similar peak numbers, that drive out of the corner is going to shoot the 750 like away every single time.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, my power went out. I hotspotted my phone. Now it looks like the power's back on.
Interesting.
Okay, so yeah, and so well, the kits that they have to use, like you said before, it was like throttle bodies and ECU. Now, are the throttle bodies reduced size or anything, or is it all only just for the ride-by-wire to limit through the ECU stuff?
It's literally just on the 750 is the only one that requires it, and it's just to get ride-by-wire so they can limit the throttle.
Okay, so on the V2, there's no, excuse me, no throttle body changes, just a spec ECU for limitations and stuff.
Yeah. So basically, everybody in the class that is a larger displacement has to run the same Medtronic ECU, wiring harness, and that kind of stuff. And then obviously with the 750, you got to change it over to ride-by-wire, which means you got to buy throttle bodies, which Chris Ulrich out at M4 kind of produces. And then they also put on, I think it's a Ducati throttle tube that they wire into it.
Okay.
So that you can get the ride-by-wire with it.
So, is there any weight restriction or weight addition, or is it all just on like peak horsepower? Or is there torque involved in it? Like, what are the exact
there are some different weights, but for the most part, they're within probably 4 to 5 pounds of each other.
And is that with rider too, or just the bike itself?
So it depends. There's a minimum for the bike that if you hit that, the rider can weigh whatever.
Okay.
So there is a combined weight of the two.
I got
it. And CJ's obviously heavy. I don't want to say heavy, but he's larger for that class.
Yeah.
So we're actually able to go to the hard minimum and we're still rider and bike together, are still above that.
I got you. Yeah, it makes sense. So basically, it goes on peak horsepower. Then is what you said is like where the restrictions at.
Yeah. So,
or is there RPM limit?
We don't have any RPM limits. Limited. Ours is, I think, it's like 81 or 82% throttle opening.
Okay.
The Ducati, I think, is like 78%.
So that's based off of peak horsepower or what?
So I mean I can. Oh, maybe he died.
We lost him again. I think his power went out again or something. We'll get back.
So you will lose peak horsepower. You will lose torque as well, but it's a little easier to make up. Like when you start closing the throttle bodies off, it doesn't kill torque like it does when it kills horsepower. Just because when you're lowering the RPMs, making max torque, it has more time to fill the cylinders, and so having them closed up a little bit isn't as bad as when you're trying to make peak power at, say, 14,000 RPMs. There's a lot less time, and so having the throttle bodies closed off will kill peak power.
So the bike's not going to rev as quick either, right? Obviously.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, if it's limited to 81%, then you're only ever going. Now, I don't know. I don't know what the actual throttle maps look like, because essentially what you could do is, if they're looking at peak horsepower alone, then you could run 100% throttle up until you start to meet the peak horsepower and then taper it off. So, like, if there were, I mean, from what he's saying, it sounds like they just have a strict, like, 81% and that's all you can do. But you could do some really cool throttle management if it was a peak horsepower number, where you could run it up to make peak horsepower wherever it is, say 10K, and then you could start pulling the throttle off to just hold that 130 horsepower all the way out to 14. But it sounds like it's just like 81% across the board. Like, it's just locked out. You can't go over 81 anywhere in the rev range.
No, it stops at 80%, 80 or 80.
Yeah, so you can't map the throttle to take advantage of any of that stuff. So yeah, you are going to drop a little bit of torque, but you're going to drop more horsepower.
Keep losing him.
Dude, he must be in a storm or something. I mean, it is getting nasty around here, so.
Andy, yes, it's the comfy couch crew tonight, and we did last time too. So
yeah.
The nice thing is, like, in the shop when I was doing it, had to set everything up, take everything down, set everything up, take everything down. So now it's just set up in the toy hauler, and we can, always everything's ready. And
we should be good now. It kept my phone and my home internet kept fighting with each other, and the home internet is in and out, so I just shut it off.
And I think we may have touched on this last time because of how shitty things were going. But, like, what's your internet out there? What do you guys have?
So it's a company that they have towers up, and whatever they can get to that tower, and then they broadcast it to our house over the airway.
And what are you pulling down? Like,
I pay for 40. In the morning.
I like that. I pay for 40. I mean, I don't get 40, but I pay for 40.
Right now, when my daughter's on playing video games and the wife's watching TV and I'm on doing this stuff, I'm probably getting about 5.
Hey, if you have any interest in Starlink, you're more than welcome to literally just come get it and set it up, because I don't use it right now. It's just on pause, and even if it's not available in your area, I have like the RV one, so it doesn't matter. The home one, which it's the exact same hardware, right? It just if you're on an RV plan or you're on a home plan, the home plan, there has to be availability to use it, or the RV plan doesn't. But you're more than welcome to grab it and just pay for the month and try it out.
Okay.
So, if you want to try it out, like, for me, it was, it's up and down, and it could be 400 or 300 megs, and sometimes it could be 30. But, most of the time it was in the hundreds, but like around 100, 150. But we have, discovered T-Mobile out here, and that's like 400, 500, 600 megs, like usually not drop below 300, and it works really good. So I switch over that, and it's far cheaper. But for people that go ahead.
I mean, I'm running. I mean, I got T-Mobile for my phone, and that's what I'm hotspotting to right now. But for whatever reason, their home internet is not available in my area.
No, okay. So here's the thing.
That's what they say. You just got to go get it.
Yeah, it wasn't available for me either. So you just go in the store and get one. Literally, it's $50 a month, and there's no contract or whatever, and it's a price lock. So go and get one. And if you don't like it, if it doesn't work within 7 days, I think it is 7 or 14 days. What was it? Something like that. You just take it right back to the store. We lost them again.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
The power went out, so I'm dark and you can't see me.
Okay. Well, either way, try it out. And then, like, in my shop, since it's a steel building, I can't get signal. I just bought an external antenna, and then boom, it was good. But you can get an external if you're not getting as good a signal, and then boost it up, and you'll get. I mean, you'll get really good. It's wild, dude. And I take it with me when I go to the track. To Pitt, to Nelson, whatever, and still pulling 400 or 500. I'll plug it in the truck and still get 400 or 500 all the way to the track. So I use it to do whatever I need to do. But yeah, check it out, dude. And it's $50 a month, so it's a little bit off topic, but still, considering the circumstances right now.
Back on topic, to better illustrate for a lot of people because they might not quite understand, like when we're talking about limiting throttle and stuff like that. Everybody that's buying a new bike, like a new 1000cc bike today, and you have to get the ECU flash because there's 25 horsepower taken off of it, so on and so forth. That's what they're doing in Moto America. So that's what the OEMs do right now. Most of them will just close the ETVs, the throttles up, and that's how they limit top-end horsepower. And so Moto America is doing the same thing with bigger bikes to race smaller bikes.
So like the Ducati and obviously the Gixxer stuff, does it really make any sense? I mean, I guess it makes some sense because you're moving where the power is made, but like, to run a full exhaust and an air filter and all this stuff, does it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because you're like, for any mod that you do, you just kind of have to forget about the 81%, right? Just think of it as you get 100% throttle, because there's nothing you can do about it. So 81 is 100. That's what you get. So it's kind of just like having smaller throttle bodies on there, but you still need to breathe. So if you can increase VE, like below peak power, by putting an exhaust on it, air filter, so on and so forth, it's going to make more power, even though it's limited. Like a stock bike at 81% at 6,000 RPMs, might only make 45 horsepower. But then if you put an exhaust and a sprint filter and stuff like that on it, then it might make like 52. A big thing with the full exhaust is you get rid of the catalytic converter and you can increase the length of the collector. And you can change the design of the collector, all that good stuff. But moving that collector will really, really boost mid-range. Like, it's not uncommon for you to put another, like, 10-wheel horsepower in the mid-range by having a much better suited collector. And they could do that because they don't have the catalytic converter and all that stuff. So you're going to gain huge power, in the mid-range and whatnot, even having a limited throttle. And that's going to come back to that drive out of the corner. If you can if you can fatten the curve, underneath peak power, if you can keep making more power, then it just drives out harder and harder and harder.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you again because I guess I'm just curious, and you may have already said yes or no on it, but so it's only percentage of throttle. So like if it's 82%, you can make as much power as you want, but only at 82% throttle opening. So that's crazy, right? So like, is there limitations with headwork or cams or anything like that, or is that open game?
No, so the motors themselves have to be completely stock.
Okay, so but like bolt-on wise, fueling, whatever, that's fine. It's just the compression, cylinder head, cams, that's got to be completely standard.
Yeah. So, like ours has the exhaust. It's got the air filter. It's got the upper throttle bodies have been removed. Just little weird things, but
upper throttle
nothing.
The
nothing
secondary
internal.
plates.
Oh, okay, got you.
So they probably, you said Chris is modifying factory ones to run ride by wire. Yeah, so if he's modifying them, you're still gonna have 2 sets of throttle blades in there, because by and large, all the bikes that aren't running ride-by-wire, they'll have 2 sets of throttle blades. They'll have one that's controlled by the cable, and then they'll have a second that's computer controlled. And that's so. For the longest time, before people could get into like the ECUs, that was a mod they do. Like, oh, I had my Busa and I pulled the secondary throttle blades out because they were the restriction and we couldn't get into the ECU 15 years ago. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
in the way they have it set up now, there's only one servo motor on the throttle bodies to run the lower set of throttle bodies.
that makes sense. So the bike he ran at Jersey, I assume that was just like bolt on and just a flash tune real quick he got from somebody, or would he work with Northeast Cycle Outlet do that, or?
No, so we did the initial bike we purchased was from Kyle at Northeast Cycle Outlet. He did some work to it, got basic stuff, bodywork, rear sets, some suspension on it. We just rode it.
Got ya.
It went well. We were trying to get it ready for Jersey. We went to Coda that Thursday. I'm talking to Chris Ulrich to try to collect parts to get this thing ready for Jersey.
Oh wait, yeah, I remember this story now. Go ahead.
Yeah, come to find out that there's basically no throttle bodies, no wiring harnesses available in the U.S. So, Ulrich being the salesman goes, "Hey, I do sell bikes," and he goes, "I have some used ones too." And I was like, "Well, give me a price." And he gives me a price, and I just kind of gave him one of those, "Well, it's not out of the question." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." Friday for us at Coda went very poorly. We had some issues. So in the 3 years that we have been doing this, including all the off-season testing, we've had one problem of where we as a team has basically fucked up, and one of the four of us did not tighten the rear axle nut. Ooh. So
no naming names, right?
No, I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. So CJ feels it. He pulls off. He sees that the nut's gone and the axle's almost falling out of the wheel. Pushes it back in, comes into the pits. We fix the problem, and then we proceed to go over the bike. This is all Friday morning, so now it's in his head. Didn't go well, so we're sitting at the house Friday night, and he basically looked at Ken and I and said, "What do we have to do to go buy one of those bikes from Ulrich?" And I gave him the price that Ulrich told us, and he's like, "Let's make it happen." I was like, "Okay."
So now he has two.
He has two, which was nice because we obviously weren't going to get the other one ready with no parts available.
Right. Do you have?
Honestly, I didn't get the wiring harness. I didn't get the throttle bodies, and there was the quick shifter and a couple other parts I didn't get until the end of the weekend at Jersey to get the other bike ready.
Huh. So, do you have all those things now for the new bike? For the one you bought, from Northeast or whatever, or got from Northeast?
Yeah. So it's basically together. I am going to try to get to Mark Jung's either Friday or Saturday for some dyno time.
Well, that if that falls through, Jake can do that. And also, well, I'm just saying, he's really good, and he makes stacks. So if you guys looking for velocity stacks and stuff, have you done for the 750 yet?
I've played with them, but I don't have ones on my site for sale or anything. But I think he said they weren't allowed to change stacks.
Yeah, we're not. The rules initially allowed for it, and then I think at some point during the last couple of years they've kind of pulled that off the rule book.
Have you used the Metrokit, or was that what it is? Metrokit? Metronic. Have you done anything with that?
I haven't used that one. That's actually the setup that Chloe just put on her R6.
Oh, okay.
And I was talking to her about it today, and I was like, "How much did that setup cost?" And it was well more than I wanted to play with. Well more.
Yeah, I mean, just for the kit that you have to buy to be legal, not including throttle bodies and that stuff. You're looking well into $4,000.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm just saying, if you need to, even if it's just dyno time, like if you have somebody that does the tuning stuff, Jake has a dyno. It's right up here. Good dude, knows his shit, can help out.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to help.
Yeah. Jake has had how many bikes on the grid did you do stacks for? Just a couple?
There was a few. So Mark used some GSXR 600s from me. He used some GSXR 1000s from me.
CBR, right?
Jeff May used some Fireblades from me. I sent a set of GSXRs to Chloe and Michael Gilbert when they were trying to put a superbike package together, but from my understanding, they never really got it ironed out or anything. So I don't know if Gilbert even ever ran my stacks or not.
There you
So
go.
yeah,
But,
but a couple big bikes out there.
but yeah, man.
Yeah, basically, I need to try to get that stuff done because we're leaving for Jennings on the 18th. So.
Got you. Well, hopefully the next time you bring me bodywork, we talked about that the other night, that I don't have like a week to do it. So that'd be fun.
Oh, you love it.
Yeah, totally. It's super awesome. Just, hey, put
No,
everything to the side to me.
I actually got an email today that it is shipped. Now the problem is it's still going to be a few weeks before it gets here. But
You should have shipped it directly to me.
I should have, except we had an issue with the first set of bodywork, so I kind of wanted to
Iron that out
Make
before
sure
you bring
that
it. Okay. Is it
Yeah,
Armor
I wanted
Bodies?
to make sure it needed. It is not
What brand is it?
CRC.
Oh, okay, that's good. Is that the same as last time?
No.
Okay. I mean, I've messed with CRC stuff. It's good, so it should be no issue on
It
my
is,
end. But
it is, but I have an upper that you might have to do some work on.
oh,
they sent me.
can't wait. That's the
Nah,
that's the most fun
gonna be
is
a
repair.
It's going to be a backup set, so you'll have plenty of time.
Okay, cool.
I mean, that's what I did. I gave him my body work, and it was chipped and broken and cracked and everything from
It was-
across sea shipping. And I was like, hey, here you go. Do what you can with it.
It's super fun.
For whatever reason, where they cut out for the windscreen,
Yeah.
the clutch lever side's fine. The brake lever side kind of does one of these, where it kind of like hoops down, and there's a gap at the bottom.
It's weird.
Hmm.
I don't know.
So
It's
I sent them
strange.
some pictures. I'm hoping maybe they'll, the guy, went back and forth with me a little bit because I was like, hey, I'm ordering 2 more sets of these. Can we make sure this doesn't happen on the next 2?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe he'll work out something with this set.
Yeah, I mean, even like mine for my 660, like it came in the like upper, I guess the wing part, whatever you want to call it. That's the left side where the windscreen attaches. Just because I mean, that's a very easy spot to break in transit because it's just kind of hanging out there, and mine didn't break, but it like completely off or anything, but it cracked, so I had to fix that, which sucks. It's just another little thing.
Right.
But I think I asked you before. Or maybe I didn't. What color are we going on those? Still black, or we're gonna try to do something like kind of cool?
Yeah, I don't know. CJ just wants to make sure it matches the leathers he has. So
Which are
they're basically blue and white.
okay.
Blue, white, and black, I think.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Like if he has, I mean,
And it may be one of those too, because I'm sending, because I have a set here now that we test fitted just to make sure that everything was going to fit, because the armor body stuff we bought, the tail section doesn't work with tight tails.
oh, that's strange.
It was very weird. Like it was only held in by 2 bolts, and it would sit and pivot as you were sitting on it.
That's weird.
I think I think actually Chris ran into something like that because he ended up selling Andy. No, I think he traded his tight tails for his factory subframe.
Yeah, you got to
because
make
it
a bracket and then drill some
yeah,
holes.
it didn't fit right or something.
And it cracked on his
Yeah, and
R1, but
Yeah.
And then the lower was basically laying on the header and
Oh.
moved through some of your paint.
That's
So,
solid.
yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I can give him some. We'll talk later, but I can give you some paint stuff on like some different colors to look at online, like blues and stuff. If he's interested in that, or black. If he wants to do metallic or whatever, I mean, we'll just go through
Yeah.
and see what he wants
But
to do.
I sent well, it's actually still in my truck. I got to mail it out, but I'm sending a lower and both side pieces down to our decal lady,
Oh,
so
okay.
she can get some templates made up.
Cool. And am I doing the tanks too then? Unless it goes
Um,
black or
yeah, we'll probably have to do tanks too. I
okay.
have, um, unfortunately, the tanks will be on the bike until March when they come home.
Yeah.
But Kyle is supposed to be getting me a third tank, so we'll at least have that one, and we can kind of rotate them through as needed.
Yeah, just as normal, pull the pump and the gas cap and all that shit, and get her cleaned out good before you bring it up. But
You don't want it full of gas.
I mean, if you want to, I'll just charge you so much more. You know how it is.
But no, we got the B bikes basically ready to go. I get to I get I guess I get to play guinea pig on the electronics because just some things. I was lucky enough to go over to the Mectronic class that they offer. Spent 3 days there
That's
for
what
the
you
class.
were in Italy for, right? Yep.
Yeah,
How was that?
that
Like not just the Medtronic stuff, but like how was Italy?
the trip was great. So of course, typical Italian fashion. The class is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They can't do stuff on Mondays or Fridays. Um, you go to this class. It starts at 9 in the morning because that they don't want to get up too early,
Yeah, well,
which is fine by me.
God, I need to move
Um,
there.
we go to lunch, which I'm not shitting you is maybe we'll call it 100 feet from door to door.
Yeah.
Uh, 2 hours every day
For
for
two
lunch.
hours for lunch.
There you go.
Yes,
Wow. So you eat and then you nap and then you go back to class.
they would. By the time we got there, we would order, we'd chit chat. The instructors and a couple other people would drink some wine. You have to have coffee after you get done eating. You have to have dessert when you're done. And
Espresso.
yeah, it's an ordeal. And I mean, it's almost comical, but it's like,
Culture shock,
I
right?
don't want, I don't want to rush this, but man, it's been an hour and a half. Can we just get this kind of moving?
That would kill me. I would hate that.
You'd forget everything that you listened to before lunch.
But yeah, the whole trip was good. So I figured, well, I might as well go early and stay a couple days late, and kind of make the most of it because I've never been outside of the United States.
Yeah. Where at in Italy is it?
So the class is actually in Imola.
Oh, okay. So you get to see the
Which
track and all that stuff, right?
I did. So, me being nosy, I was like, I wonder if they do track tours or any kind of thing. And I'm like, yep, sure do. It's like $30. They take you in a van, drive you around.
How
You get
what
to stop at a couple places.
Wayne, compared to American tracks, what do you think?
Mm,
Like surface, quality, etc. I mean, I know you're not riding
You
on it, but
know,
you can obviously feel and see
it 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 was a lot tighter than I expected. Like the wall. I mean,
like the width of the
granted,
track.
the width was okay. It's just like how like the walls and everything. There wasn't a lot of room.
Like runoff, you
Um,
mean?
yeah, but this track's also in Imola. It's not like it's outside of town. There are roads that you can basically stand there and look through a fence and watch cars, bikes, whatever going by.
Oh, that's kind of wild.
Uh, and, and and it's actually, so I found out when I was there, it's actually a city-run track that during the spring, fall, summer, whatever, they have a calendar up and they allow people to go out and jog, walk, bicycle, whatever's on the calendar for that day. You're allowed to go out on the track and do that.
That's pretty nuts. But so as far as surface, like, is it just far beyond like Coda, like in terms of quality, or
No,
is it about the same?
it's about the same. Which I mean, granted, Imola gets pummeled with snow. I mean, it was cold as shit when I was there. Um, Now you go further south in Italy, and it's perfectly fine. But up there, I mean, when I got out of the train, it was cold.
So did you
But
So you said it was in Imola. Did you travel anywhere outside of Imola, or did you stay like just
No,
there?
so I, like a dumbass, I did a red eye. Flew out Friday night to go over there. Landed Saturday morning in Rome. Spent the day in Rome, basically backpacking around with all of my stuff on me. Grabbed a hotel in Rome. Uh, got up the next morning, took a train to Florence, spent the day there. Got up the next morning and went to Imola and spent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday there, and then Thursday evening took a rental car, drove down to Tavullia, where Rossi's hometown is.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that if you did that. How was that? Is that
Yeah,
just a tiny ass town?
it is. It's a town in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, I don't want to rent a car. I really don't know what driving's going to be like over here. Thank God they still drive on the same side of the road as us. Um, but it was a 3 hour bus ride or an hour drive by car.
That's crazy.
Shoo.
So was it just like
So
scattered with Rossi shit like all over, or what?
it's very weird. So like when you come into town, there's a sign at the top of the hill that's basically got Rossi's picture and stuff on it, and then one of the buildings has it, and then there's this huge store of just his stuff. They got like an ex MotoGP bike of his sitting in there and all kinds of things. It's pretty wild.
That's crazy.
And then I rented a car, but the problem is that it's Italy. Everything closes early. We get out of class at 6. All the rental car places close at 6.
Huh.
So I had to pick the rental car up on Monday, which worked because then I drove it to the track and a couple other places. But to rent a car from Monday to Friday afternoon was $87.
Wow.
Amazing. That's so awesome.
And then on my way back, I swung by the Simoncelli Memorial.
Oh,
And
nice.
I don't know if I want to. They have a museum there, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go. And they close for lunch because that's what Italy does. Like
Just close for
most
everything.
places close down.
They have like
Yeah, they
nine.
close
I
down
think
for-
they have like. Don't they have like 3 months off? Like work, just period.
I know they have at least a solid month off in the summer.
So wow. I need to move there so bad. That would work really well with me. My.
I'm looking, and I'm like, I got 2 hours till they go to lunch. I don't really have to have the rental car back until my train out's not till like 6 or 7 in the afternoon. I was like, screw it, I'll go. And I walked a couple of blocks from the memorial to the museum. And I'm telling you now, if you're ever in the area, that museum is 1,000% worth it.
What's the flight cost to get there and back, like to Rome or whatever?
So I booked it in October. I went in middle of December. With insurance, round trip was $500.
Oh my god! All right, we'll talk because that would be awesome. Like I definitely want to do Italy at some point in my life, but the other one is Isle of Man, and I've looked at Isle of Man stuff like during the season, when it's going on. It's crazy. It's actually
really-
kind of expensive, but
Yeah.
that's kind of bucket list thing. But like Italy would be fantastic, and to do just same things you did, just be able to travel like Tavullia and all that stuff would be really cool to see that culture over there.
And I pulled some luck out of my ass too because I walked into that museum. There's a lady and a man talking to each other, and I hear the guy's voice. I'm like, sounds really familiar. Just the guy's voice sounded really familiar. Turns around, and it's Paolo Simoncelli.
No shit.
Dad.
That's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
And I was like, you have got to be shitting me. What is the odds? And the lady's looking at me, and I have this like shitty grin on my face, and she's like, you recognize him? I was like, I absolutely recognize this guy. And I was like, man, can I get a picture? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And we chatted for like maybe 5 minutes, and he left. Lady looks at me, she goes, he comes in here maybe twice a year.
No shit.
Wow.
That's crazy. How speaking of that, like talking whatnot, is it? Do a lot of people speak English over there, or did you have to get like use your phone for a lot of translation, or?
It depends on where you are. Tavullia and I can't think of the name where Simoncelli's is at. But like the small towns, you're going to use your phone.
Yeah.
Rome, Florence, even Imola wasn't bad. But I think Imola, you have the benefit of the track.
Yeah, right.
So, but for the most part, I mean, I made an attempt. I tried to learn some stuff. It's hard to do when you only have like 30 days to basically try to cram for it because I procrastinated like hell.
You just talk with your hands and put a parere on the end there. Push very hard. So you say, push very hard. So you just be like, I don't like Marquez. And then you'd be fine. It's like, fuck Marquez. Oh, yes, fuck Marquez.
They'd probably just hear Marquez, though, and they wouldn't understand, like, I don't like him. And they'd be like, oh, you fucking like Marquez? And, they'd fucking mug you. No,
I'm pretty sure fuck is, universal.
Well, I guess if you use fuck. But if you're like, I don't like Marquez, and you say it with a smile, they just mug you.
That's true. That is true. Of course, they probably do. They will like Marquez after this season once he's on a Ducati.
Nah, they'll never like him.
Fuck Lorenzo. Yes.
I think after 3 days of classes, I had about 75 pages of notes that I took down. So hopefully I can remember any of it.
Did you go with anybody else, or was it just you?
Went completely solo.
Oof.
Just roaming the countryside.
That's rough. Should have went to a hostel.
I did.
I may not have been there.
I did. It was funny because the first day, the first class was like basic Mectronic, and there's 4 of us in the class, and then they had the advanced class was the Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm sitting there Wednesday morning, and here comes Shiloh from N2 walking in. I was like, "Hey, I know somebody."
That's wild. It's wild. So I don't know. You have any
basic.
Go ahead.
Basically, I get to try to figure out engine braking, throttle maps, all that stuff.
I'm surprised he doesn't have he doesn't have anybody that already kind of knows that system that he brought on. So it's just kind of like you're the guy now, right?
Yeah, there's not a ton of people in the country that understand it.
Huh. So do they use a lot of electronic aid in Super Sport, or usually not? Like traction control, ABS, wheelie control, or not ABS, obviously.
So the next gen bikes have none of that.
Okay. So you're just learning the tuning side of it?
Yeah, so you gotta basically try to figure out how to tune it so that it doesn't wheelie and try to high side you all the time.
Okay. So there's no wheelie control or traction control. You're just using it through the ECU, tune it that way.
Yeah.
Like as far as what throttle, input.
Because you can do
can you get in on this? Because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you can do all. You can do all wheelie control, all wheelie control, traction control, all that stuff is power management. So it's very
like throttle mapping.
Yeah, so throttle mapping is a big part of it, but throttle mapping is aggressive, and that's where you're going to run into trouble. Not so much with lower power bikes, but if you try to do throttle mapping for wheelie control on a 1,000cc bike, you can get very, very choppy. Because you're turning on and turning off big amounts of power. Like the front wheel starts to come up, and it takes into account the rate of change too. And so the front wheel starts to come up, and it's like, oh man, we got to turn this sucker off. And they'll just kill all 4 cylinders. It'll be huge. You'll drop all your power, and then it'll slam on the ground, and then it'll pick back up, and you'll get this choppiness going on. And so obviously you can work to tune that. You can take less throttle out of it, so on and so forth. Now, it doesn't sound like these throttle bodies have it, but you'll get into throttle bodies that have independent control as well. So 2 cylinders will be on one control, 2 cylinders will be on another control. And so you can manipulate it much smoother, right? You can start to pull power out of 2 cylinders instead of 4 cylinders. But then also you get into ignition cut and ignition retard. Because if you retard ignition timing, that's an easy way to kill power, but not just obliterate it, right? You could pull 4 or 5 degrees of timing out, and it'll drop a little bit of power, but it won't be closing the throttle bodies and just slam the front end. So yeah, all the OE systems are going to utilize that. You're just not going to have much control over it. Whereas the way they're going to do it is much harder, but you have full control. It's very, you want to pull the throttle down here, pull the throttle down there, pull some timing here, pull some timing there. Now I don't know if does that ECU have any kind of GPS based stuff in it? Okay, so yeah, you're not going to do any of that. You're not going to do, this corner, that corner, stuff like that. So it's going to be tricky because it's going to be like track by track by track, because you can't just go in and say, well, when we roll on the throttle, we want to pull 40 horsepower out of it or something like that, and like that might work at one track, but like maybe you were going uphill there, and so it wanted to wheelie even harder, and then now on the next track you're going downhill there, and now it doesn't want to wheelie at all, and you're just losing power. So it's going to be tricky because, like I said, it's going to be track by track by track by track, and that'll be fun. You'll have fun ahead of you.
That ECU also has they call it anti-jerk inside the system, and it's basically when the transmission and the gearing and everything takes up all the slack when you go from off throttle to on throttle, and you get that like lurch. It basically has a system in there that you can go in and manipulate numbers around, and it'll actually retard the timing in that specific spot to get rid of that.
Yeah, so we do that with throttle control and stuff a lot of times. So obviously, like you pull diesel fuel cut off, and it makes it a little smoother and stuff. But then that initial roll on, it's the same thing. You have negative torque as well. So when you're engine braking, decelerating, you have essentially negative torque. You have the rear wheel driving the engine, slowing it down. And whatever that might be, like if you have the throttles completely closed, fueling turned off, so on and so forth, like you can have something crazy huge, like minus whatever, 20 pound-feet of torque or something like that. It'll look really, really big. We measure it in drive force. We don't measure it in like torque, but we measure it at wheel drive force. But then when you get back on it, same thing. If you don't have that smoothed out, you might have a big jump there too. And so you could have this huge jump from off throttle to on throttle, and it'll hit super hard and uncomfortable and all that. And so what you can do is go in and when they start rolling on the throttle, you can just take that 0, half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of throttle, and you can make it next to nothing, right? Like if you make up to 5%, like 1% throttle or something like that, when they start rolling on it, it turns the bike back on, turns the engine back on, but ever so slightly, right? Like you have 1, 2% throttle. Those are throttle openings that you would use to manage engine braking, right? So you can start basically taking away the engine brake and adding to the power and get more of a seamless transition instead of here we go, we're back on the gas. But again, it's more difficult when you don't have like independent throttle controls. You have a big bike that makes lots of power, so on and so forth. Because the bigger engine's going to have heavier engine braking. It's going to make more power, so you're going to have a greater jump from on throttle to off throttle. And so we do a lot of smoothing down low.
You know what all that sound like to me? Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, and basically for ours, there's a channel in the ECU that basically records all of that slack and tells us how much we have, how much we don't have.
Oh, that's awesome.
It'll actually retard the timing based off of that single channel.
So is it kind of like calculation based? So like you kind of like asking for something and it's doing its own algorithm to set it up?
I don't know. It comes as its own channel in the ECU, and you can pull it through AIM or I2M or 2D. I'm sorry, any of those basically data logging systems, and that channel is it's built into the ECU as one of the channels that comes out of those data logging systems.
So when you're editing it, though, are you is there like a section that is like anti-jatter or anti-clunk or whatever you said? Are you just like plus or minusing it?
They call it clutch slip, and it gives you a percentage.
So you just increase or decrease depending on the force that it hits with?
Yeah, so the class basically gave us a range of where you kind of want to be to kind of minimize that. And he said you're never going to get rid of all of it.
Yeah.
But you can kind of minimize it as much as you can, but you also don't want to kill the drive out.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like when you start softening up that hit, then you're wasting time,
So just trying to get
getting back on the throttle, and then you're working through the soft spot trying to get into the juice,
So just trying to get that perfect balance is essentially just the big thing. And that's going to vary so much.
It's going to be rider too, right? Like CJ's going to be subjective about it because he might like a really smooth exit, but then he's going to suffer a hair on drive, or he might want the drive and just say like, fuck it, let it hit really hard. As long as the tire holds it, I'm fine with it. But it's going to be the way he feels.
The way the bike was at Jersey and looking at the data, it was hitting pretty hard, and he did not care for it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like it.
Well, there you go, man. Obviously, talking to him, you can hear what his knowledge base is on it. Not on that system, but if Mark does fall through and you need somebody to, need a dyno to get on, and he may, get it.
I don't know how much experience you have tuning and stuff like that, but like Ryan said, like I haven't used that system. But if you have any questions about throttle mapping with engine braking and stuff like that, I mean, feel free to hit me up. I can see if I have any help for you. Like I said, I don't know how much tuning you've done. I mean, maybe you're an expert and I'm just talking to a wall here.
I've never seen him tune anything.
Okay, well.
No.
But I don't know.
I assume they at least give you a base map, and so you have like a timing table and a fuel table and everything built for it already, right?
Yeah, so basically we're not allowed to advance timing on the bike, so it's all just on the retard side.
Well, I mean, that's not always a terrible thing. There is actually cases where you can pick up power with retarding timing, because if timing's like maxed out and then you make the engine more efficient, you have to pull timing. So it's not always a bad thing.
Right. You didn't know that?
I mean, usually OE timing maps are pretty good. It's not every bike that you just go in there and put timing in and pick up power. A lot of these bikes you'll put timing in and it won't matter. They're not knock limited. They're cylinder limited, and so you've basically reached the maximum cylinder pressure that you can get there, and so advancing it more just brings down cylinder pressure, and so it hurts torque. But they don't start knocking or anything. You got to really, really try to like make these good super sport bikes knock. Like you got to go in there and mess it up. I'm not saying you can't. I had a guy that it's a funny story. I forget where this guy was from, but he hit me up and he was asking for some tuning advice, this and that. And he was big into BMWs, and it blew my mind because like he was very, very new to tuning, like didn't know much, but he had like the full BMW RCK like kit, which is extremely expensive to buy for like those. But anyways, so he was asking me this and that, and it wasn't 2 weeks later or something that he sends me some dynographs because he put E85 in the bike, and so he thought he could just literally send the timing to the moon. And you see the detonation on the dynograph, like you physically see, because usually like so I have standalone knock detection software, and so I'll actually add a knock sensor to a bike, and then I have both headphones and the display and everything to monitor knock, and so you can get all kinds of some pre-knock, pre-detonation, even into a little bit of detonation, and you're not seeing it on the power curve, right? But like this guy, you could see basically like cylinder pressure spike, and then he's like, yeah, I blew it up. Like I thought E85 like wouldn't detonate, and I was like, well, like E85 doesn't detonate on normal timing. You can add a little bit to it, but you can't just throw the moon at it. Like it's still just a fuel. Good Lord, man. So he literally blew up a BMW just throwing so much timing at it. He didn't end up telling me what it was, but I mean, he seriously had to put like 15, 18 degrees in there, something crazy like that. Like to get them to start knocking and on E85, like you really got to throw timing at it.
So, Craig, how much pressure are you feeling that it's on you for the electronic side of stuff?
We'll see. Right now, not a lot, but I know once the season starts, I'm gonna probably be vomiting in the corner somewhere.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine until he asks you to fix something, and you're like,
I can't. I'm so excited to.
I don't know where that is.
Super Sport this year, and then when CJ's not in the top 10, I'll be like, "Fucking Craig, man! Like,
it's all his fault.
Did he do?
If he had better throttle mapping, it probably would have been okay. I'm gonna be watching his corner exits.
Yeah, we'll see if it ever starts smoking and he has to pull off the side of the track. I'll be like, Dude, he's gonna get verbalized like hard.
Put too much timing in it.
Yeah, the other side of it, the whole ECU mess that I'm looking forward to is the fact that we don't use first gear at any track, so I can set it up as a launch control map basically in first gear.
Oh, that's interesting.
They don't just have a standard launch control like on that ECU. What the?
Nope.
It's a race ECU. How is that not just built in?
I think it's technically not allowed in the class.
Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but
I have a question for you. So, like, I listened to what is it? Pipe Dreams podcast and Rispoli and Corey Alexander, and they were Rispoli was talking about. I think it's Vance and Hines they developed a launch control, like a lowering system, ride height for the front. And it got banned or whatever. Has anybody, do you know, in the paddock and Super Sport or whatever, developed anything like that, and then it just got like, oh no, you can't use that?
Not that I know of. I'm sure Stamboli would probably be the first to try it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It seems like, I don't know, you know, even he was saying even like Vance and Hines was like, look, let us use it, we'll sell it even at cost to whoever. You know what I mean? So then everybody in the paddock can have it that wants it, the development of it and to actually use the system. And I just think that's like you're delaying that. Like that's something that could be out on the market to be able to be used. It's just kind of interesting that it's so prevalent, at least in MotoGP. I don't think in Superbike it's definitely not, but it seems like. You know, because I talked to Jake a little bit about, like, is this something we could design? And he's like, oh, you just look at, like, the dirt bike style ones. I mean, there definitely have to be some trickery there and some modifications to actually make it work and work well, et cetera. But, like, it's definitely, like, you could do it. It's interesting to me that no one has actually developed anything that can be used. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Since it would be such an advantage. And if there's nothing in a rule book about it currently...
Yeah.
If it's a rule not to have it, then you can use it. I mean, that's how the rule book works. Like you just look around the stuff, but I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure everybody is stretched a little thin on time and everything, and it would really suck to put a bunch of man hours into developing that just for them to kick it out during practice and say you can't use it.
It's true, but if you don't have to tell them, you know what I mean? Yeah, you don't.
I feel like they might notice, like, okay, that bike, hey, that one, your forks aren't fully extended, bud.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it must be something. The springs must have just sacked down on me. Oh, well, I'm going to race it this way. Don't worry about me.
Oh, wow. Anything else?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Season should be good, though. I think there's going to be a lot of heavy hitters in a bunch of different classes this year, so some of the races might be good this year.
Oh yeah, is he still?
Superbike's looking good.
Yeah, it is. Super Sport's looking good. Yeah, a lot of entries in Super Sport this year. It's crazy.
I saw where Super Hooligans is allowing triples now instead of just twins.
Oh, that's interesting. For the Triumph, obviously, and probably the FZ09, right?
You can only run the. You can only it has to stock production number of 125 horse or less.
Yeah, FZ09 would be perfect for that, or MT09, whatever you want to call it.
The Triumph RS 765 RS makes too much. It's 3 horsepower over. So you got to get the base model that's 120.
Oh wow, that's kind of weird. Is he still sponsoring the pit race round?
I don't know. We haven't really discussed any of that.
I'm just curious. Did he do it last year?
He not to the extent he did it the year before.
Yeah.
But I mean, we still had some stuff up there. We had a tent and I think a piece of equipment was up there. But one of the helicopters might have been up there last year. But I know like the year before they were filming the Build Train race. I think their race on Sunday, they were filming it from our helicopter.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah, he was a huge... I was up there for that one, helping that guy, and, like, his signs and shit were all over the place, so that's the only reason I recognize it, but...
And it was funny. I can't remember what day it was, but the one pilot, and he's an absolute lunatic. Great guy, but just crazy. And I mean, he is doing hot laps about 50 feet off the pavement.
That's sweet. Well, shit. You got anything else for us? Jake, you got any technical questions? Because, I mean, I don't know shit. So.
No, I think I spent most of my questions.
You got anything else for us, man?
I don't think so. Just looking forward to get out and riding here again in a couple weeks.
Yeah, man. How's Deshay? Like, have you ridden a lot with him? Like, I don't know. I mean, he coached just a couple times up there. I know he had a surgery or something going on. I think like I saw him maybe second to last track day at Nelson, but that was the last time I saw him.
Yeah,
he seems like he's kind of in and out.
I had the 750.
Do what?
He was up there with me when I had the 750.
Yeah. He seems kind of like in and out. Like he wants to and he doesn't want to. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I try to help Steve out. A lot of his is just mental.
Right,
he can
right.
go quick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He just seems like he's kind of like, you know.
I've towed him to some quick lap times, but I can't get him to do it by himself.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have problems with that sometimes as well. Like, it's easier to have a carrot in front of you, you know, and then you're not as focused on your mental state of like, I'm going too fast or slow or whatever it is. You're just focusing on like staying with. You know, I get that. I talked to him a little bit up there, but
I think a lot of it, and I mean, we've even talked about it, not necessarily towards Steve, but you know, it almost seems like the dumber you are, the faster you go. So I think
100%. The people that have zero sense or care, they're fast as hell, but they're also the first ones to crash.
Right.
So there is that. Well, shit, man. We definitely appreciate. Well, I 1,000% appreciate you coming back on here and spending the half hour prior to making sure this all works and listen to me bitch about why I can't get it to work. And finally, we did, and it actually sounds really good. And now I know from now on.
Luckily, I couldn't hear half of your bitching, so.
Oh yeah, because it was on and off and all over the place. Sometimes I would even touch buttons, and then all of a sudden had some crazy mic feedback that, like, you know, when you put a guitar up to an amp, that dude, all of a sudden it started doing that for no reason. I'm like, what is going on? But we figured it out. Everything worked out. The audio's really good, so hopefully people got to actually hear what Craig had to say, and hopefully everybody enjoyed what Craig had to say. It was enjoyable to have you on, and we'll have to
if anybody happens to show up to any of the rounds or whatever, just look for the Northeast Cycle, the Roche Tree Service tent. I'll be underneath it.
Yeah, man. If you need, if you guys, which I'm sure you don't, but if for any reason you do need any help at the pit round or whatever, or at Mid Ohio, hit me up, man. If I can get free, I'm be glad to come and help you guys out. Like, if you need somebody to just be a tire bitch or whatever, as long as I'm not doing everything like I did for that one guy, it's fine. Like, you guys have your own little thing, but if you need somebody to be a tire bitch or anything like that, just hit me up. I'd be willing to definitely give a hand.
We'll let you do the race starts by yourself.
No, I won't come then. That was the most ridiculous shit ever. At least maybe his generator would work. I don't think I told you that thing either. Like, when I did do that, like, he had a generator that wouldn't work. So I'm sitting here on the grid, like, warmers are on, and they would be going just up and down and almost dying. I was like, I'm gonna go get my generator that I had in my camper. I'm like, we're gonna use it because I know it works. Like, dude, it was the most stressful, ridiculous shit ever.
That's the first thing about one of the first things I do on Thursday is walk over to that little 2,000 watt Jenny and fire it up, and make sure it runs.
He had two, and they both just didn't work right. One didn't work at all. The other one barely worked. And then what was even worse is the power went out in the. We lost him.
The power went out in Craig's house.
Yeah, the power actually went out in the garage that he was in. And
Wow.
I'm like, dude, we ain't got no power.
Yeah.
Your warmers are off. So I grabbed his, he's like, grab the generator, put it over there. That wouldn't run at all. He's like, grab the other generator. So I grabbed it, and it would just idle up and down because the pilot or whatever in the carburetor was plugged. I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. And then his warmers wouldn't work. One of them quit working.
My gosh.
So then I used my warmers, my generator, and my little cart for the weekend.
Goodness.
Should have got paid twice as much. But yeah, go ahead.
We fortunately have quite a few sets of warmers because we have a bad habit of one of our guys forgetting to unplug them.
Is it Capits?
No, we've been using Bickles the last year.
I bought some Capits from Jake. I got the Vision Pros, and the first weekend I used them, I didn't forget to unplug them. It just, when I put them on, like on the rear at least, I didn't know it bunched up when I was putting it on. It bunched up just a smidge, like from swing arm. Dude, burnt straight through top to bottom. Big hole in it. They were still working, but I was like, what the fuck? So I said, here, Jake, let's see if I can send it in. Send it in, and they were like, nah, we won't fix it. I'm like, well, it still works. Can you just like put the material? They're like, nope, won't fix it. So I just bought a whole new set. It was not the Vision Pros, but I'm like, that's crazy that they wouldn't, because I've heard really good things about like they'd repair it.
Yeah.
So then I told
they fixed mine, but I shredded the power cord to where it was only about an inch long.
Oh, jeez.
Because I was fucking around with the bike and somehow managed to put it in gear while it was running.
Yeah.
So I asked Jake, I'm like, hey, we'll call him back or send him an email and see if I just want it back. I'll patch it myself. No, they wouldn't give it back. Right? You've not heard back from
Dude,
him?
I put so many, like, so I had the cell phone number of whatever the guy's name is. I forget what he is, the U.S. rep. Messaged him.
Out in Utah or whatever.
Yeah, I messaged him multiple times, and he just started ghosting me. And then then I reached out to my buddy, who's in good contact with him. And he's like, I don't know, dude. He's ignoring me too. So I don't know if he was just ignoring everybody, but I went and put basically a ticket in on Capit's website itself, and nothing. Like, not even an email like, hey, we'll look into it. Like, I don't know if that email went directly to that guy, and he was just like, fuck them, I'm gonna keep ghosting them or what. But like,
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, they're probably the best warmers I've had.
They're
get
insane. I mean,
so hot.
it's like the
so
sun.
quick. And like, I've not had another set of warmers that even come close to comparison. Like the Woodcrafts, I can't even tell how hot they really get. They don't feel hot, but they take forever to get the temp. Where the Capits are like 15 minutes, dude. They're full blown. They're rocking, and it's just crazy. But like for me at least, the support sucks, and I can't even get back my shit that I paid for.
yeah, that's insane. Like they
it's
literally
fucked up.
stole it.
But
Yeah,
whatever.
We've been happy with the Bickles this past year.
Who is doing Bickles?
It's the guy out of Canada. It's Bickle Racing or whatever it's called.
Oh, okay. Are they? I mean, in your opinion, are they comparable to like the Capits or?
They're close. They're different. Like they have this rim skirting stuff built into it.
Yeah,
so it actually wraps all the way around.
The Capits do that too. The full zones. The problem is, like, I don't know what those cost. You can say if they're around the same, but like, if you want the Capit Vision full zones, it's $1,500 for the set.
No, I want to say these are. I want to say they're like $900 or something.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. But yeah, like those bad boys, dude. Like, I was like, holy shit! When I saw 700, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna buy those 700. That's not bad. That was for one, and I was like, oh, that makes sense now, right? Yeah, that's crazy.
One, and it's the front only.
Yeah, it was actually.
The rear is $200 more.
There's Mr. Hollenball says hello. You know, it's funny you speak about like you shredding your warmer or whatever, or the cord. Matt, I remember one day he had it wasn't his warmers, but his lap timer, because he didn't have it wired in, he had it plugged in. And boom, he's going out for a race. And next thing you know, he's dragging the power strip down. Like, whoa, 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 whoa.
That's awesome.
Hopefully that wasn't the same race I got video of you and him at.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. We'll have to. I'll have to. We'll have to.
I know Matt won't appreciate that video anymore.
Oh, you gotta, dude, clip that and send it to me, because that's epic. Like, that shit was right in front of me, dude. I actually may have that myself. I have to look. It's
dude, I watched the whole thing unfold, and I'm going, I really hope Hoblich sees this. I'm hoping to hell he sees him before this happens.
I was in front of you right before that too, and then you passed me and whatever. But I was in front of you for just a hot second. I was yeah.
Matt helped me out on that pass, so.
Hey, whatever, man. I was in front of you for like a lap, I think, maybe.
Yeah, somebody forgot to put their biking gear on the start.
That was Matt, or was that you?
No, that was me.
No, well, there you go. I'll take whatever I can get, man. Whatever, and that says a whole lot that you weren't in gear and still caught me. So, of course, I didn't have KRT.
I was like, oh,
blah blah
shit.
blah.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, I gotta go. I don't know how many people I axed before we even got to the carousel.
Yeah, I think did you pass me down the back straight or into the kink?
No. So Matt came in front. Like, I was right behind you. Matt came in front.
Oh, that's right. And I had to brake really hard so I didn't die, and he didn't die.
Once you checked up and I saw him go by, I kind of took the opening.
Yeah, and then I had to, like, reel myself back in after seeing my life flash before my eyes, and then get back in it. He still finished, I think, like, third or fourth. I think he finished fourth. Like, dude, it's crazy. But he did take the short way through there. He should have been penalized.
Was he exceeding track limits?
Bro, more than that. Like, he was off to the left, went like off the grass. Like, you've not been to Nelson, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's like in the kink. He like, no, was it with the kink? No, it was after the kink. He went off the track.
He went off just after the kink and ramped the access road.
Yeah, so went across the access road, and then 12 goes like this, and then 13 back on. So he just goes straight across 12, and then keeps going. He's still rolling out of it. Like, so as he's going across 12, I'm coming through like, oh my God. He passes in front of me. I make 13 come on, and then I'm seeing how my peripheral view of him get back on the track down the front straight. I was like, oh, fuck. It was wild.
Mm-hmm.
He after he got off the track, remember, he was like, oh, my God. He was like, dude, that was nuts. I'm like, I'm surprised. I would have went down probably.
I came down and helped talk him off the cliff. He was going to pack it up and go home for the day.
I remember that. It was good times, though, man. It was fun. Good times.
Yeah. The dumb shit we do.
Yeah, you'll have that, but it was fantastic. I loved it. So, but yeah, man.
I'll grab that and send it over to you.
Yeah, for sure, dude. We'll have to put that up on here so everybody can see that craziness. But man, we appreciate you having you.
He's gonna regret logging in now.
Nah, he's with us all. I think he's like our biggest viewer. I think.
Yeah, he's #1 fan.
Yeah, he's in the shop making some chips, doing some CNC, and so. He's like, yeah, I'll kick it on and listen. He's probably going like, God damn it right now. But yeah, man, we thank you for being on.
I'd have never known if you hadn't said anything. So
do what? You would have not.
I would have never known if you didn't say his name. So.
Oh yeah, because you didn't know who he was?
No, I can't see who's on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I get it. Cool, man. Well, again, thanks for coming on, and thanks for helping me out prior to making sure we had a decent audio and video and stuff. And like I told you before, get with CJ, see if he wants to come on. We'd love to talk to him too. I mean, you answered a lot of questions I had about him, but it's probably a little bit easier to talk to him on some other stuff, so you don't have to just put words in his mouth.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he would know a lot more about the whole coaching thing than I do. I was just,
passing. topics were coming up, but awesome to hear about your trip and what you're learning on the electronic side and who we need to blame for next year. So, but we appreciate you coming on, and thanks again. And maybe we'll have you on another time. And yeah, dude, that's all I got, man. So
yeah, at least it's fixed now, so you can have some more people on it.
Exactly, dude. I do. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to help me sort that out. So.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
And it's a redemption one for you here because the last time that was all my fault and everything went sideways. So.
Yeah, I tried listening to it afterwards. I was like, I can't hear shit.
Yeah, I was trying to adjust audio so it didn't echo. That wasn't the problem, but I was trying to Band-Aid it. So, but we good now, man. So, all right, dude, I'm gonna let you go, and we're gonna get off here too because we got some work to do, and we'll catch you guys next Tuesday. Same time, and we're gonna have so far, I mean, what the plan is, I got it scheduled. Nick Kaplan from Monkey Grip is gonna come on, and we're gonna talk to him about his product and kind of I'm just curious how he even got into that, like what brought about that whole scenario. But he's got a lot of stuff on the Moto America grid. I run his stuff, it's all over in the track days and shit. And yeah, he's got a new product coming out too. He's actually sending me some stuff to try out. I'll talk about that after this, but I'll let him kind of explore that when he's on. But yeah, we'll look forward to having him on. And then after that, I don't know, we'll have other guests, or maybe we'll be doing solo for a week or two. Who knows? But yeah, thanks a lot, Craig. I'm going to cut you out here on video. Thanks again, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, man.
All right, we'll see you. See ya. And yeah, so we're going to get on out of here. Thanks, everybody. Jake, you have anything to say?
Nope, that's it.
Cool, man. We will see everyone later. Thanks for tuning in.